All right, what's going on, guys? It's Luke here. Today we're going to do a video going over how to determine if you have an SMT or the leading pair. Okay, I'll explain this in a sec, but if you guys seen the video I did the other day on break evens and when to move your stop loss to break even, I'll tag it or I'll link it in the description or in the pinned comment or something like that. But basically, I talked about how if there's an SMT and say you're looking for longs and ES takes out the draw and NQ hasn't, you can probably move your stop loss to break even. But there's a few times where you can continue to hold, and this is one of those videos where I want to talk about this because a lot of you guys mistake SMTs for actually just one index leading the other index. Okay, so there is a difference between this, and I'm going to go through this example, this trade today. This is the trade that I took today. Here's the executions from the trade. If you guys want to watch it, it's the April 21st recap if you're watching this like later on. So this is something that you need to look at. This is the criteria you want to know if it's an SMT or a leading pair or a lagging pair, right? So what you want to know is, does ES still have more draws above or below? Is ES displacing through the draw or rejecting it? And then what is the overall narrative of the market? Okay, so I'm going to run through this trade really quick to kind of like pull this back so you guys understand what I'm saying. So market opens up today and we get initial manipulation to the upside. And then we end up just dumping through and we end up taking out all this higher time frame sell side. We take out London low, we take out Asia low, and we tap into this 1 hour bullish fair value gap, which is our condition. So basically, if price wants to respect this 1 hour gap, I want to see price at least flush to that 930 wick and then potentially higher, back potentially to all-time highs, because the narrative is that we are in higher time frame bullish order flow and we have all-time highs. Okay, but if we flip through this 1 hour, then I'll look for shorts, right? So what happens? Price comes down, we sweep out higher time frame sell side, we react off our condition, and then we get this nice trade right here, which is the exact entry I took. There was an earlier entry, but I took this 3 minute. Why do I take this? We're reacting off this 1 hour gap. We get strong displacement to the upside. We have a clear break even at 930 wick, or if you got in earlier, you could have actually just full TP there, but I wanted these highs right here. So let me put the replay tool back on and I'm going to show you why a lot of people hesitated to take this trade from what I've seen. So if you see right here, like I said, 930 wick right here is always a strong draw on liquidity. I've made videos on this a lot. Price loves to attack these 930 wicks. So this was my break even point just because, it wasn't giving me enough risk to reward, obviously. So I wanted to catch more of the move and I was targeting these highs for just around a 2 hour play. But what do you see here? We get strong volume and displacement to the upside, but let's look at ES really quick. ES has now taken out that 930 wick. So a lot of people are saying, oh, there's an SMT, I can't take the trade now, right? But this is where you're wrong, and you have to understand the difference between what an SMT is and where it's a case of this is just ES being the leading index compared to NQ, and NQ is just lagging behind. Okay, so let's go over and look at this criteria really quick, and then I'm going to explain it, right? Does ES still have more draws above or below? Okay, we look at this right here. ES still has draws. Again, we have all-time highs up here. We have this high right here. We have this high right here. We have these highs right here. And we have all-time highs. So yes, ES, even though it took this out, it can continue to push higher. The volume is clearly bullish and there are draws on liquidity higher. So this isn't, okay, let's say for example, this was at, let's say this was London high that we just took out, and none of this, I'll draw it up here, okay? Let's pretend this was London high right here, and ES didn't have anything else above. We tapped into a 4 hour gap. Maybe there's a 4 hour gap right here. NQ is still down here, but ES has already came up and took out the draw, which was London high, and it's starting to reject. That's a time where you want to move your stop loss to break even on NQ because ES just took out the main draw. It doesn't have any other draws above, and it's actually showing rejection. Compared to this today, going back to that list again, first of all, we see ES still has draws higher. It has this high, it has this high, it has all-time highs. So it still has room to run higher. And if ES is going to run higher, what is it going to do? It's going to pull NQ up higher with it. Why? Because NQ and ES are correlated assets. More often than not, they're doing pretty much the exact same thing. They move up together and they move down together at the same speed pretty much. So going back to this list, is ES displacing through the draw or rejecting it? What do we see here? ES displaces right through the draw, closes strong bullish above the draw. Do you really look at this as a liquidity sweep when we just displace through the draw? No. You see it aggressively displace through the draw. And when we displace through a level or displace through a draw, what do we expect? We expect that momentum to continue to the next draw on liquidity, right? So again, this is the difference. Let's say again, this was London high, right? Let's say there was a 4-hour gap right here and London high. And let's say there's no other draws right here that are relevant. You know what I mean? The next draw is all the way like up here. Okay. So let's say NQ is down here doing its thing. And then let's say ES has already came up, took out London high, which is the main draw, and it's starting to reject instead of displacing through. If price is going to continue bullish, it should displace through the draw. But let's say ES came up and starting to reject. This is where you want to move your stop loss to break even on NQ, because at this point, ES has already taken out the draw. It's taken out the main draw. It doesn't really have anything else to continue to target, and it's rejecting. Compared to the example from today, again, ES displaced through the draw. It still has room to continue to run, and the higher time frame narrative, this is the last point. What is the overall narrative? Okay, we already swept out sell side. We are delivering off a 1-hour gap, right? We have draws on liquidity higher. We have all-time highs above. We look at the higher time frame, right? Let's zoom out to the 1 hour. The 1 hour is swept. Like you can see, this is a typical liquidity sweep and move higher move. The 4 hour is still bullish. The 1 hour, again, going back to the 1 hour, we just swept out all this sell side. We bounced off this gap. This is the textbook play where we see price run back higher. So going back over here, I'm willing to take this trade. Why? Because I know it's just ES being the leading index, right? ES still has draws above that we can target right here. It displaced through the draw. When you displace through the draw, you expect the momentum to continue. And we look at the higher time frame narrative. The higher time frame narrative is bullish. We're delivering off a higher time frame gap after sweeping sell side. We're getting volume, momentum, and displacement to the upside. And we have it's like a clear buy model. So this is the difference between an SMT and a leading index play. If ES came up to this 930 wick right here, swept it out, wicked above it, and then started to reject, then it makes sense to move your stop loss to break even or to avoid this trade. You know what I mean? But since it displaced through the draw, it still has room to run. This is more of a case of ES is leading the way. And if ES is leading the way and likely to continue bullish, we expect NQ to continue bullish as well. And as you can see, ends up delivering to full TP. And it's actually funny because ES was a little bit weird after this. Like if you actually look here, it moved very choppy. It didn't actually end up delivering, but as you could see, even though it didn't end up delivering much higher, it kept rejecting lower, and it did push up a bit. And then NQ became the leading index actually here, which is weird. And then price ends up dumping off there. But as you could see, even though ES didn't fully deliver where it normally would have, it continued to reject to the downside, and continue to show bullish strength. That's the most important detail. It continued to show bullish strength with all these wicks. We got a little bit of a push higher, which allowed us to get to our TP on NQ, and then price reversed. So the main message here, okay, this is how you determine if it's an SMT or it is just a case of a leading pair or a leading index. Does ES still have more draws above or below? If it does, then it's likely just ES is being the leading index and it's just pushing faster, and you could expect NQ to continue to push like right behind it. Again, is ES displacing through the draw or rejecting? If it's displacing through the draw, you expect it to likely want to continue. But if it's rejecting, if it sweeps it and it's rejecting, then that's likely a case of it being an SMT and you might get reversed on. And what is the overall narrative? Where are the higher time frame draws? What are we delivering off of? You know what I mean? What is the overall picture? And in this case, it was a clear reversal for higher, and that's what we ended up getting. So that's it for me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Again, this is the criteria I always look at. But that's it for me. We'll be back at it with the trade recap tomorrow, whatever we get, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.